Right now, Redirect is about to start. Just after former President Trump's attorney grilled Stormy Daniels in day 2 of cross-examination. Trump's lawyer and Daniels have been sparring over Daniels' relationship with the former president and why, if she wanted to, quote, get her story out, she instead sold her silence. Hello, everyone. This is Outnumbered. I'm Emily Campagno, here with my co-host Harris Faulkner. And also joining us today, Cheryl Casoni, host of American Dream Home on Fox Business, senior fellow for the Independent Women's Forum and journalism fellow for the Steamboat Institute, Kaylee McGee-White, and former Biden campaign surrogate, Kevin Walling. Now, we just got this new photo of Stormy Daniels with her attorney in the witness room yesterday. It was taken before the judge banned photography in the courtroom. Former President Trump braving the gag order against him to lash out about the case earlier this morning.
This is without precedent in American history. Only with the desperation of President Joe Biden and his fanatic left-wing enforcers did it become possible to think about arresting and jailing their major political opponent. This case must be taken out of Judge Merchan's hands because it's totally conflicted.
We begin now with Eric Shawn, who is outside the courthouse in Lower Manhattan with the latest on Trump's criminal trial. Eric.
Hi, Emily. Well, the defense has been trying to shake Stormy's story in a day in which the testimony veered from NDAs, non-disclosure agreements, to communicating with the dead. Trump lawyer Susan Necheles, she was slamming Stormy's motives during cross-examination and Stormy's memory, challenging details of Stormy's recollection of that meeting with former President Trump at this celebrity golf tournament in Lake Tahoe in 2006. And they're going to his penthouse hotel suite, she said, for dinner and a tryst. Necheles, trying to pick apart her claim, said to Stormy, "You made all this up." Stormy answered, "No, my story has not changed." Stormy, seen here with her attorney in that witness room on Tuesday, admitted the deal with Trump's lawyer Michael Cohen was signed 8 days before the election day in 2016, and she was afraid at that time that she wouldn't get paid because she thought Trump would lose. Then the trial ventured into the paranormal. Stormy admitting she has told people she can speak with the dead, including speaking with her deceased relatives. Necheles raising Stormy's work as a medium to try and portray her to the jury as, well, kind of unreliable and a bit crazy. Turns out that Florida Senator Rick Scott arrived with the former president at court today. They came down from Trump Tower. And afterwards, outside, he repeated the former president's claim that this case is political.
The lead prosecutor was the number 3 person that the Biden Justice Department. The judge's daughter is a political operative and raises money for Democrats. You've got the lead prosecutor's wife that is a significant donor to Democrats, and I think to Biden. So this is just a bunch of Democrats saying, we want to make sure that Donald Trump can't talk.
Well, Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg has said that politics has nothing to do with this case. Judge Shawn has said there is no conflict, and the New York State Committee on Judicial Ethics has ruled that the judge's daughter's work as a Democratic consultant has no bearing on this case and that he is impartial. So now that the defense has finished its cross-examination of Stormy Daniels, it is time now for the prosecution to have what's called redirect. So they will try to address some of those issues that could cause their case some problems with her, trying to clean up some of what we heard this morning. We'll bring you that redirect as soon as we get it. Emily, back to you.
Eric Shawn, thank you so much. All right, let's bring this conversation to the couch. Harris, you can also tell me the sky is green. You can tell me that grass is blue. It really doesn't change the
As green
fact.
as this dress.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. So I want to add to that list that Eric Shawn just gave of all the people who are having to quantify and qualify how they don't have a conflict of interest. We can now add Matthew Colangelo, who is the lead prosecutor in this case. We know that his wife has given to Democrats. We know that. And you can give to people and not necessarily lose your objectivity. However, when you were paid thousands of dollars by the Democratic National Committee on a couple of occasions, I would like to know what Colangelo was doing for the Democrats. I think that that's a fair question, because that's not a donation. That's a pay from the Democrats to him. So, and it was in quotes, political consulting, seems out of his lane, but maybe not. And if politics color to the point where the DNC is willing to pay, well, who else pays, and do they color in this case? So I think that was a good place for Eric Shawn to kind of land on as we wait for redirect, because it does bring up a lot of issues for the team, for the judge. We'll see how it shakes out.
Kevin, as a DNC mole with us today, tell us how do we address those questions, the very real questions about the seeming conflict of interest with everyone involved in this, the lawfare that this seems to be, and you know, at its best, it's a farce, frankly, and at its worst, it's a real damning portrait of the criminal justice system right now being wielded by the Democrat Party and this administration to tamper down with a presidential candidate. What say you?
Well, listen, I think this case, as we've talked about before on this couch, actually helps the former president. He's able to fundraise. He's able to take that mantle of grievance back. This is how he was able to clear, for example, the Republican primary, where attacks weren't landing. He wasn't debating them, and he was in court. And now he's, selling parts of his suit from when he was indicted. This all furthers the narrative. And actually, I think, I want the former president out on the campaign trail. I think this trial was a national embarrassment for this country. I don't want to see a former president having to answer to some of these questions. It's embarrassing when we're in this strategic competition with China and Russia to see a former president going through this. I want him on the campaign trail. I want him having to defend, tax cuts for billionaires and this national abortion ban. I don't want him in that courtroom. I think it actually helps his cause.
Now, digging into that point about Stormy Daniels in particular, Kaylee, what say you about how she has been utilized or attempted to be leveraged by the prosecution, and how that seems to be failing in everything, however, but the humiliation which this trial seems to be rife with?
Well, to be honest, I think people are trying to figure out why she's even there in the first place. Her testimony is completely irrelevant to the charges that have been leveled against Trump, which is fraudulent bookkeeping. And yet her entire testimony was filled with these salacious details about a sex act. It was completely inappropriate to the point where the judge actually had to scold Alvin Bragg's team for putting her on the stand in the first place and having her share those things. And so I think to Kevin's point, the reason why this has not touched Trump's lead in any of these swing states, and I think about my home state of Michigan here, is because this is just a distraction, and voters see that for what it is. They're annoyed that the media and the Democrats constantly want to talk about Trump on trial when their groceries are 30% more expensive this year than they were when Biden first took office. It's a distraction, and if Trump can continue to capitalize on that, I think his lead only continues to grow.
And Cheryl, let's talk about how voters perceive that, because as we listen to this testimony, we are reading right now, she confirms she entered into the NDA over safety, but calls the money just a bonus, but earlier testified that she indeed had gone into this agreement for the money. There's a lot of miring in details that are salacious, at a minimum, so irrelevant, so prejudicial. We've talked about how jurors cannot wipe it from their ears or memories. And it seems to me that the bigger case that the Democrats are trying to build, that DA Bragg is trying to build here, the more Trump comes out looking so like the victim, because he is, and this is so off topic legally and politically. It's just horrifying.
New York Attorney Alvin Bragg has had 3 weeks, and he has not gotten to the case, to Kaylee's point. I'm ready to talk about the business records. Let's get to the case. What do you have that you were going to say that President Trump did or not do? Get to the point. None of this is the point. And Stormy Daniels' testimony has been salacious and I think a very large distraction and unfortunate. But he has got to prove that the falsification of those business records happened, and that there was also, remember, a second crime.
Right.
And that is the election interference. But he's got to get through all of that, and he hasn't even started that yet. And then, of course, there's going to be the inevitable appeal at the end of all of this. And I will say, and I've said this last week on the couch, that financial crimes are already very difficult to prove. In a civil case, this is a criminal case. So I think Bragg has taken on more than he can chew. And I think we're going to, as this case continues, we're going to see that he doesn't have a case. And I think the jury is going to have to decide.
I wonder politically what that's going to cost him. And what it's going to cost Letitia James with that case that's now been indefinitely delayed. What it's going to cost Fani Willis if she even gets to stay on the case at this point with an appeal about her disqualification potentially. All those cases have been delayed now while this trial is going on. This, and Emily, you have taught us this as a legal expert on our couch, is the weakest of all of them. Can we quickly go back to that picture of her in the hallway taking a selfie with the prosecutor? Look, we know what this is about. This is more of a money grab. This is a grift. And it looks like that from her perspective, because she's willing to go into the hallway, as Mark Thiessen and my other guest last hour have said, and just basically put herself out there. And there's so much jovial, oh, it's so much fun, I'm at trial, I'm this, I'm that. This is not selfie-taking time. You're on cross-examination and now redirect for 2 days of testimony, and you're killing the prosecution's case. Not a problem for Trump, but it lets you know who she is.
Right. You say, what will it cost them as a New York taxpayer? Hopefully, their jobs. Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.